Welcome to the Upshift podcast, where changemakers meet and commune and find out how each other is doing their part in changing the world. And my guest today is Allison McCune Davis, who is a naturopath, author, and mom of 5. Welcome, Allison.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Yes, she's had quite a colorful background. Mostly on, taking on these 5 kids to having your own and taking some on. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Allison. Tell us what you want us to know about yourself.
Well, my background is I was a TV producer in my mid-20s, or I guess early 20s to mid to late 30s in LA, San Antonio, and then LA, and then met my husband when we were both visiting our parents in Middle America, Oklahoma, a small town. And we decided to eventually get married and start a family. So we thought, well, this would be a good place to do it. So we moved back here and ended up having 5 kids, had 3, and then adopted 2 more from Russia and Ethiopia. And I started getting into natural health probably when I was about 30. And my father was a doctor. So, like most people in this country, we're kind of a medicalized country in a way, so that whole getting into natural health was like a whole new thing. But yeah, so I really got into that. And the older I got, the more into it I got, after having a few kids, which I did a little later. I was 42 when I had my 3rd. And after that, I've got these 3 little kids and my body just went, there's problems here. So I just want to
at any age after 3 kids.
First went to a naturopath then and did all the blood work and, all the just testing of hormones and everything. And so kind of got into that way. And then I've always been fascinated with longevity, just like how, when I come across a 90, 100-year-old person, I'm just like, okay, what's your secret?
Yes.
They're kind of all different. I mean, there's some similarities, but there's, they each have their own thing. And so it's just fascinating to me. And then, of course, the blue zones rolled around and that was interesting. And so after I turned 60, which I'm 64 now, but this was a few years ago, I kind of just freaked out a little bit and thought, oh my goodness, I was just very introspective that year leading up to that age, that birthday, and asking those questions, what am I doing with my life? Should I be doing something different, and feeling very restless. And just like, I feel like, yes, something's changing. Like the big 3 kids are out of the house. There's still 2 left, but they're very independent. My role in life was just changing, and I needed some kind of purpose, like a new purpose that was really going to energize me, which is one of the major tenets of longevity, having a purpose that, you're excited to get up in the morning for.
Yeah.
So I kind of went on a little 7-month odyssey of figuring that out. And that's when I thought, I'm going to write a book. Oh my goodness. I'm going to write a book. That's crazy, but okay.
What's next?
Right. So that's a little synopsis.
Right. And so Allison now is a published author. I mean, she does have a program, but I wanted to say that her turning point, which is in many of us as women, the turning point, 60-ish.
Yes, ish, for sure. It could be 50. It could be 70. I mean, it's just like second half of life is what I like to really say.
It is. And it's that empty nest syndrome. Mm-hmm. It's that something happens, loss of family, loss of husband, loss of anything, job, whatever, loss of kids going out of the home, that whole empty nest.
It's huge.
It is. And until you really experience it, it's like you don't know the heaviness of that first child leaving and not having that energy around. Big changes.
Yes.
And I do applaud you because not everybody, woman or man, goes into introspection, into the what next, into the me now, I call it. It's me now. I've given a lot. And now who am I?
Yes.
And you found who you are. But tell us in more detail, So where you are now,
happened.
where you're going.
Well, yeah, and so that was really it, it is a big question. Not only was it for me, but like you said, women, I think we go through, let's just say about 30 years of raising our kids
Yes.
or being in some big career or both or whatever it is. And it is this transformational time for, like you're saying, me now. Like, who am I even? You know, and it also takes decades, I think, to know who we are.
Right.
Right? To like to, so I've always been very into, personality tests and, counseling when needed and, just really knowing what I'm supposed to be doing while I'm on this earth. Like that's always sort of like I feel like, we all have a purpose. We all have a reason for being here that only we can do because nobody in billion years, however many years, has ever been born like us.
Right.
Isn't that crazy? I think that's
Individually.
amazing. With all the people that have ever been born, there's nobody like us.
There's no repeats.
Yeah. So like there's got to be, something we're supposed to be doing. And if there's not, I think then that's when we die, right?
Yeah.
So
A
if we're
boredom
here,
at least, right? So Allison, what are you doing now? Give us who are you? What's your purpose? What's your purpose?
well, my purpose is just is speaking to women that are in the second half of life and giving them what this book is, which is a plan to execute on developing the habits that we need for longevity in our lives. And I don't mean, and I mean healthy longevity, feeling good and living in our purpose, figuring out what that purpose is. So the book goes in, looks at a bunch of longevity studies, not only the blue zones, but there's some Harvard studies with hundreds of thousands of women on this subject. There's even some cancer studies on, so, longevity with cancer, right? Really
Hmm.
interesting. But what's really interesting is they all kind of say the same things in terms of what are the lifestyle habits.
Right.
So I divided those into the three pillars that I call body work, brain work, and world work. So body work's the physical,
Hmm.
and I have like the big five under that. What are you eating? Are you drinking enough water? How are you moving your body? Are you sleeping well? Are you breathing deep
Yeah.
and correctly? Brain work is going to be our mental, emotional, and spiritual self. Are we developing that? Are we attending to that? And there's five things you can do that you're going to choose something in each category to do for 60 days. That's what it's leading to. A
Okay.
60-day dare, I
Hmm.
call it. And then world work is our purpose in our relationships and our spiritual attention to our spiritual life. So, if you don't know what your purpose is, like I was questioning that for a good 7 months. I didn't, so I was really seeking these answers to these questions, but there's a dream section. So, and back to 60 again. The book's called 60 is a Good Start. It's kind of for multiple reasons, which I can tell you in a second. But there's 60 dream questions. So if you don't know your purpose, I would choose those for the world work section. And you would just answer one question a day for 60 days. Just journal your answer.
Oh, yeah.
And that I think is going to lead you to probably what your purpose should be for the next 5 or 10 years. And that's what I'm kind of talking about, like getting a plan that really you love, that your life is going to look like for the next 5 to 10 years. Who do you want to be? What
Mhm.
do you want it to look like? I
Yeah.
remember I remember following this woman on social media when I was in my 50s, and I was, more heavy duty parenting and all that, but she's on social media, live in California, and she's a business expert, but she was a fitness expert too. And so she and her everything in her life just kind of was surrounding her fitness world, even though she was like a business teacher. And, they'd go to a hotel in another city. The first thing they did was, look up what gym could they go to. And I just remember thinking, when we talk about who do we want to be, what do we want our life to look like? I just remember thinking, I want my life to be more focused on fitness,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
just that desire. But it took me a while to do that. Really not till my mid 50s did I get that piece of it
Well, I
regular.
mean, so it sounds like transition. I mean, we all go through transitions. It really doesn't have to be an age thing, but it does happen to you at an age. This book you wrote, it sounds like more of a workbook where
It's
it
not a workbook, but it has a planner that goes with it.
kind of
So
a guide.
there is the book that is talking all about, there's studies, there's statistics, there's, just the importance and why these key items are part of longevity. So it's explaining. I mean, I think it's important to understand if you're going to engage in something for 60 days, you got to know why, or you're not going to be motivated to do it.
Yeah, truly
So the
anything.
importance of all of those things in a person's life. And then there is a planner, if for the 60 days that's written just for specifically for that. Some people may have their own planner they like to use, or an app, or something to kind of keep track of what they're doing for 60 days. Because you're adding, a few things to your day if you're going to engage in this 60-day dare, and you got to be intentional about it. You got to plan it. It's
Mhm.
not going to happen. You
Sure.
can't, like, that's so important.
Yeah, it's like a diet. You decide to eat healthier.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, it's Monday afternoon and there's nothing in the fridge
Right.
except,
Yeah.
Reese's bars or
Yeah.
whatever.
So you got to plan it. Yeah, I
Set
love the
yourself up
line
for
environment
success.
environment triggers behavior. So like that fridge, you want to have your glass bowls with fruits and vegetables at eye level. So
Mhm.
your environment's triggering you to, oh, I think I'll eat that.
Right.
Or your tennis shoes are sitting out where you see them and not stuck in your closet so you can
Or the
go for a
dog
walk.
leash is on the door going,
Yeah,
you're like the
right.
dog.
Right, right,
I
right.
love that. So daily reminders of the thing that the question was that day.
Mm-hmm.
So being more mindful of my thoughts, maybe. And
Yeah.
that whole day, it would be about, oh, there goes a negative thought. Being more aware, which I do believe, kudos to you, is the pathway to change.
For
Change
sure.
is happening, right,
Yeah,
Allison?
it sure
It's
is,
like,
isn't it?
why don't we get into the same boat with the changes that's happening and steer it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think we just have to accept the fact that self-care and all of that takes some time to think about each day. I mean, when I was younger and like in my careers and stuff, I'd getting up and going, like, grab that coffee and just go. But the older I get, and I think we all get, we realize that, I've had some people say self-care is a full-time job. And I mean, there's a little truth to that, but not necessarily. I always say it's just baby steps, just little by little. And the other line I love is your future is hidden in your daily routine. So when you think about what do I want my life to look like a year from now or 5 years from now? Well, what does your day look like?
Yeah.
'Cause that's what's going to look like.
And staying motivated. How? Tell us how. I mean,
Yeah.
give
I
us the formula on that one.
Well, I think accountability is huge. And so I say, when I talk in the book about doing this 60-day dare, I'm like, there's a few people out there that are great about doing something like this on their own. But I think for most of us, we need accountability. We need to do it with somebody. I got two friends in the neighborhood here who are doing it together. So they're going to keep each other when one of them's like, ugh, I don't want to go for that walk. The other one's like, come on, let's go. Or a group of friends, or I have an online program that you can do it with me. If, we'll have weekly Zoom calls for accountability. And so I think that that's really part of it, a big part of it. Unless you're that unique person that's great doing it on your own. Eh,
Yeah, God love those people. I don't know. I'm not one of them.
I'm
And
not either.
it gets worse as I get older.
Oh, I agree. It
The
does.
the drive, I was so driven. I am still driven.
Yeah.
And having that accountability with friends that are going through the same thing. We're at the same age, or going through the same thing, or skin sagging at the same
Yes.
rate, whatever, but then we're there for each other as accountability, checking in. I have a friend that texts me every day and just something, thinking of you, found a new cream. I don't know.
Love that.
There's a saying here, and she take a screenshot of it and send it. those kind of relationships, when I teach the freedom model is something that I have. It was one of the whole sections is you need your community.
Yes,
You
it's
have to have.
huge.
You can't do this without. You
No.
really can't.
Well,
It
one
needs.
of the options under world work, I call it engage. And everyone's different, but as we get older, loneliness can be a factor. Maybe you live alone, maybe you're single, kids are all gone, who knows? But it's sort of like if you want good friends, you got to be a good friend. Like
Yes.
that person,
Oh,
your friend is so great. I love that. But you have to be reaching out. So that would be, purposely, intentionally decide to reach out to somebody. And I don't mean just a text in this case, this is a weekly choice you could make, but like, let's go to coffee, or I'm
yes.
gonna FaceTime my brother that lives across the country that I never talked to, or whatever, just those kinds of things.
Two things that popped up in my head about that. Yes, the human connection.
Mhm.
Please get off the internet and find
Especially
your
now after COVID, after everyone went home, they're still home because it's a whole new way of life. Yeah, it's huge.
isolation. And people are craving it. Actually, I think the
I think so too.
depression and sickness is rising because of the
Yep,
isolation.
I agree.
But I got something else.
Yeah.
So in your plan, I bet, I'm imagining probably you have a release section where it's like the things you finally realize that thing maybe you thought you loved to do is not serving where you're going.
Absolutely. I mean,
Food,
yeah,
friends,
yes,
liquids, beverages, whatever.
yeah.
Do you approach that somewhere in
Well,
there?
yes. I mean, I feel like one of the things I'm teaching women is how to say no.
Yes.
So, it's
No,
just
yes.
like, and then what that means is boundaries.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
we have to have boundaries. And one of the things I love is there's one section, it's in the dream section. So where you figure out what are your 5 core values.
Mhm.
Well, companies do that, but most individuals just don't. You don't like that process of, you can Google, give me core value words, and you'll get 200 words or whatever. Go to those. They're in my book too, but there's all kinds of different lists, and narrow down to 5. What are your core values? Not what should they be,
Mm.
but what are they? What's in your deepest soul, your heart about what do you love? What moves you, and narrow them down because some can fit under the umbrella of others, right? Narrow them down to 5 keywords. And to me, at this point in life, everything I do should fall under those core values.
Wow.
And so,
Yeah.
there's another exercise in there where I want you to list kind of what are the main things you do in life. You know, maybe you have a job that you go to your job. Maybe you engage with certain people throughout the month for different, whatever, book club or just whatever it is. What are the main things that you're doing in your life? And then I want you to go through those and decide from the feeling in your body, are you aligned? Do you feel expansive when you think of that thing that you do?
Mhm.
Are you like, I'm not quite sure, so semi-aligned? Or when you think of that thing that you do, are you just constricted and do you just go, oh, I don't
Oh,
like doing that
yeah.
thing. I do it. I never want to do it.
Right.
And so it's really assessing those parts of your life. And like, if there's something you don't like doing, you probably shouldn't be doing it,
Even
especially at this
yes.
point.
I
Yep.
had I had an experience like that at the beginning of this year that drove me absolutely, and my family, everybody around me, nuts.
Yeah.
Because I joined a university for coaching. I've been a coach, I'm a certified coach, but this was like the high ticket coaching. And and I would send anybody to these people. It was fantastic. But every time I had to do like homework,
Hmm.
everything inside me is like, I really
Yeah.
don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And I couldn't understand. It's like, no, but you should do this. This fits into your line of
Right.
things that you do.
Right.
And everything inside of me was like, you don't like this. And then I had to say the words, and I'm going to say this out loud. It's like, I don't want to be a coach. I've been coached. I
There you
don't,
go.
I don't want to be a coach. And
Yeah.
then I told the guy, my coach that, and he goes, well, what a great revelation.
Oh, it is.
But yeah, but that was weird.
Now you feel light, don't you?
Yeah, but I felt like I was defying myself. I felt like I was being a dummy. I felt like, you're being, I don't know, lazy. I felt all those words came to me.
I'm sure.
And
Yeah.
how do you support yourself when you're making big decisions like that? And at this point in our life, the decisions are big because how we go and where we go, the
Yeah.
horizon's a lot closer than it
Right.
was.
Exactly. Yeah.
Makes a
Yeah.
big difference. How,
Yes.
I mean,
Yes, it does. I mean, I think you just have to believe that you're supposed to be doing something else. Like if that's how you feel in your body, it's a gut feeling. I mean, you just have, well, maybe you have, but at that time, you just hadn't figured out what was that thing that I do want to spend my time on. What lights me up?
but see, it hadn't shown up yet because I had so much space rented in my head thinking about the thing I didn't want to
Yes.
do that I was supposed to
Yes.
do.
Yes.
I had to let go of it and
Yes.
then feel like a dummy, feel like I really, that was stupid
Right.
before the next thing came in.
Yeah. There's a line, I think it's from that book, Big Magic. Have you heard of that book?
Yeah, Elizabeth, you're talking about,
Yes.
yeah,
I love that book. And I think it's in that book where she says, leave room for the magic. Like we
yeah.
need some white space in our brain.
Mm.
It's kind of like when I homeschooled my kids, one of the things was, your kids need to have time to just be alone and think and just, not be so like busy all the time that they don't have time to just sort of allow themselves to become who they're going to become. And I kind of want to bring that back to now, when those of us that and I was there, for a period of time, but we're trying to figure out what am I doing? What do I want to do? And I mean, I had to when I turned 60 and I was so restless, I felt like I think I just have to say yes to some things that are not the thing, but they're going to be steps to whatever the thing is I'm going to sink my teeth in for the next decade. So like the first thing, I just was scrolling on Facebook and I came across this ad for this calendar. Jesse Itzler, do you know who he is?
No, I don't.
He's Sarah Blakely's husband. She invented Spanx. And so he's this entrepreneur. He's a mega athlete, and he had this Facebook group and this calendar he sold for. It was a year calendar. You hang it on your wall. It's all about planning your year personally and then fitting in work stuff around it.
Oh,
And his big thing was he wants you to have every year a masogi, which is a Japanese word for a life-changing event. So that's what started me. So I'm in this group, this Facebook group, and all these people, they're all ages, male and female, and they're all just doing fun, neat things in their life. A lot of them were real athletic and just a range. And so I'm looking at that every day, just kind of reading stuff and thinking, okay, well, what's my Misogi going to be for this year? Because I joined it in January. Well, in March, it took me that long to figure it out. It could be go hike up a mountain or go lose some weight or repair a relationship or whatever. And so then this girl gets on there and says, I'm going to start 75 hard tomorrow. Does anyone want to do that with me? Well, 75 hard was this 75-day challenge that I'd heard about 4 months earlier. The guy that invented it's big muscular tattoos all over him. I listened to his podcast and I was like, there's no way I can do that. This is a hard challenge, physical,
yep.
mental. And then after being in that group for 4 months and reading these people, doing all this fun stuff, and then she said that, and I was like, could I do that? I turned 60. I'm trying to figure out my Misogi. I was pretty motivated. And so I went back, listened again. I thought, I think I can arrange my life to do that. So I did it. So like that was what that was an example of was we are the 5 people we hang out with, right?
Yeah. Wow.
Are they lifting us up? Are they pulling us down? And that was just me being in that group. That's the only thing that changed in that 4-month period where I was like, there's no way I can do that too. I think I can do that. Was just listening to those people. And so that was pretty cool. I did a women's mastermind thing. Again, they were all ages, people asking some questions. It was on Zoom. It was I think it was 12 weeks. So I was doing things that were kind of leading me to something. And it was after the 7 months of all that I was like, I'm going to write a book. Okay, here we go.
So, and one thing I want to bring out that is going to tie this up with a beautiful bow is challenging yourself. So the
Yes.
Muskogee is a beautiful word for challenge yourself this year to do something
Yes.
different that you've done before.
And that's memorable. Because you're going to go, oh, in 2025, I did blah, blah, blah. You know, that's the idea. So I know in 2021, I did 75 hard.
Gosh, but what you said that really hit me was it's I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's such a common thing to say, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to be stronger, I'm going to build more muscle. That's so physical, it's kind of black and white, but to go repair a relationship,
I know.
That's challenging.
That is challenging.
Beautiful.
It is beautiful. And you really have to kind of make a plan for that, I think, because you don't know what the other person's going to do and you don't have any control over them. So, you know, just your response. But yeah, that would be cool.
So here's the bow. So we can challenge our listeners to go get your book and do the 60-day challenge. So tell us the title, where they can get it, and then your launch that's coming up. So you've got kind of a support group. Tell us all about that.
Okay. So the book is called 60 is a Good Start. 60 because I was 60 when I kind of was like, what the heck? I'm freaking out here. But it could be second half of life, but it's called 60 is a Good Start. Also, it's called that because it takes at least 60 days to develop a new habit. Could be up to 8 months, but it's definitely at least 60 days. And we see that in the microscope looking at the nerve cells in the brain. We can literally see. That's Dr. Caroline Leaf is the one that tells us that. And she's written like 20 books. She's going on 70, I think. Great lady. A neuroscientist. She's super cool. And so that's the name of the book. There is a planner that goes with it. If you bring it up on Amazon, they're usually kind of, you can buy these two together. It's called Reignite. And so if you want a planner, you can do this on your own, or I have a online program that's literally launching in July 1st. But it'll be a continuous thing. So you can come in there and do it at whatever point you want. There will be people doing the 60-day dare. So if you want to do it with a group, there'll be weekly Zoom calls and that kind of thing. You can find all this on my website, which is my name, AllisonMcCuneDavis.com. You can also, if you want a free download from there, just /free, AllisonMcCuneDavis.com/free. And that is my list of my favorite supplements and practices I use to keep my immune system boosted.
Yeah.
I'm also on Instagram, same, my name, and happy to talk to you if you message me.
All right. So it's Allison McCune. I want to, when you put that together, sometimes you miss a C in there.
Yeah, it's MCCUNE.
Thank you. Yes. CUN as in Nancy E. Davis.com, right? And Instagram and go on Amazon. And so now we know how to get to you. Now we know there's a support group out there for us. Thank you.
I know. We need that.
Yes. And Allison, thank you so much for taking your time and being on the show and inspiring, igniting our listeners.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you to Allison McCune Davis, who just published 60 is a Good Start. Go find her book and go grab her workbook called Reignite, a 60-day challenge. Something I think I'm going to actually do. And 60 is when things kind of turned up and around for me too. So I really appreciate someone out there that is promoting that age. So thank you so much for listening today. I am Angel Howard. Come find me on my website, angelhoward.co. You can also get my book, Issues in Your Tissues, which is how to navigate life through your body's messaging. Get that on Amazon. And hey, invite me to speak to your group. Just contact me at angel@angelhoward.co. All right. Thanks for listening and see you next time.